Welcome to this session. I'm going to be talking about using your website to scale your private practice without burning out with the help of your website. Now, my name is Jessica Freeman, and I am so excited to talk to you about this today. This is my zone of genius. I love to nerd out about websites, especially for health practitioners and dietitians. That is who I work with. I'm also a YouTuber, podcaster, author, wife, and mom. So there's a lot going on over here. So I know how important it is to have a website that really supports your business and you and allows you to grow. Now, I'm going to make my slides a little bit bigger for you so that they are easier to see so you can take screenshots, notes, whatever you want. So let me do that real quick. Now, today we're going to be talking about how to streamline your client workflows with a little help from your website, how evergreen content and SEO can help you fight misinformation that's happening online, and also attract some more ideal clients to your website and your practice, how to use your website to support that team collaboration, and also how to address client questions up front, position you as a professional, and build trust and transparency also. So, by the end of the session, you'll have some actionable steps to create or update, hopefully, your website so that it really, works as hard as you do. And of course, if you have questions after this, I'll have some contact information at the end, so you can feel free to DM me, email me, whatever, if you need clarification on anything. So I want to start just by talking a little bit about the challenges that y'all are facing in the health and wellness industry, because in 2025 and even before 2025, misinformation is everywhere. Clients are overwhelmed by conflicting advice that they're getting from doctors, online, articles, everything out there. And it's really making it difficult to know what is trustworthy. And we all know that a lot of people are just trusting anybody and everybody on the internet. And so we really want to position you as an authority so that they know they can trust you. They go to you for questions and answers. And that is where your website comes in, because it's not just this digital brochure or kind of a static landing page to share your contact information. We really want it to serve as a platform that builds trust, that shares evidence-based content and support, and again, positions you as a reliable resource, not that wellness influencer that is sharing misinformation on social media. But your website doesn't just stop there. That's not the only thing it can do. It can also help reduce burnout by automating some repetitive tasks and help streamline things in your business. And okay, I know this is cliche. You've probably heard it like a million times because if you're a web designer, it's like you have to say this at some point. But I want you to think of it as your hardest working team member, one that is available 24/7 to support you, to help, bring in those clients who are up at midnight because they're tired of their symptoms and they're like, I really need to get some support, or I need to get my spouse some support, and they're Googling, they're feeling overwhelmed, and we want you to show up and save the day. So, now that we've set the stage, let's talk about how your website can help with your client workflows and onboarding. Now, obviously, Practice Better is a big part of that. It helps a lot with all the forms and the scheduling, but you can also do some of this in your website as well. So, whether you're just starting out or you're scaling, having systems in place is going to save you time and help deliver a really good client experience for your clients. And that client experience does start on your website, not once they pay. So, one way your website can reduce, back and forth emails and unnecessary calls is answering common client questions up front. Often my clients are like, "Oh, I don't want to overwhelm people. I don't want to have too much information." It's really about organizing that information in a way that doesn't overwhelm people. That's what's key. So, for example, you want to answer the questions with information about how to schedule an appointment, what happens during the first session and the following sessions. Now, FAQs can live on their own page, or you can add them into like your services page, your sales pages. Um, Either way, this is a small change that can have a really big impact. And you can also, if you end up having a separate FAQ page, you can even watch your website analytics to see how many people are going to that FAQ page. And maybe that means that you need to explain some things better within the sales pages, like that's pretty telling, or set up a patient info page, which I have an example to show you in just a little bit. You can see here this little screenshot on the side is just a very simple FAQ page. It has accordions that you can click and get the information, the answers that you need. Um, Again, you can do it on the sales page, a dedicated page, even both if you want, but it doesn't have to be fancy. It's literally just an FAQ page. So don't overthink it. If you're comfortable, not everyone is, but if you're comfortable with clients booking directly, you can integrate your Practice Better scheduling tool directly into your website. I really recommend just linking it to a button and having it open in a new tab. Now, it's really important that you do have it open in a new tab because we don't want people to fully leave the website. We always want them to be able to come back to the website instead of like, oh, wait, what was that website address again? And like just making it easy. So always make sure open in a new tab. And this obviously allows clients to choose their own time slots, and you don't have to go back and forth like, oh, can I get a call? What times work for you? Yeah, no, 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 no. And you can see here this screenshot from my client, Sydney. This is her Practice Better landing page to book a call. She has quite a bit of text at the top. This really explains like what this call is for, why you should schedule it, what you will talk about. It really gives people context and can calm any anxieties or uncertainties about like, what am I doing on this call? How long is like what's going to happen? Because for some, it might be their first time working with a dietitian. And so we want to make sure that you're really making it clear how this works. Am I getting on this call and you're just going to immediately ask for my credit card? Like, what's happening here? So, really setting that stage can be helpful. Now, if you decide not to have a call schedule linked on your website, totally fine. I personally don't even have that because I want people to inquire first. I make sure we're a good fit, then they can schedule a call. You can use an inquiry form if you want to do that. Now, this is not the intake form where you're getting the full health history. This is an inquiry form. It's basically a more in-depth contact form. So instead of just name, email, how can I help you, you want it to get a little bit of information that just gives you some context about the person. Obviously, with HIPAA, we don't want to get too much information, but you can have some options like which package are you interested in? What like is making you reach out today? You can sometimes I even have people put a disclaimer like make sure like you don't have to give me your full health history here. Like we can talk in depth on a call. I just want to know a little bit of like what you're experiencing. This is especially helpful if your practice helps several different conditions. Like if your practice only helps with PCOS, then you may not need quite as much information. You might just want to know like their age or what they've tried before. But if you're like, oh, we help diabetics, we help PCOS, we help thyroid, you want them to be able to select like, this is the package I'm interested in, or these are the things I'm experiencing. You might want to know if they are looking to use insurance or if they're going to self-pay, or if you don't do insurance. I always recommend one, that information be available on the site, very obvious on the site. but also making sure that they can like click a box or something and acknowledge, I know that such and such practice does not accept insurance and I will have to pay out of pocket. Because for some, that may be a deal breaker. And if they somehow miss that on the website, we want that to be obvious when they are contacting you. So make sure that you're being really transparent about all of that upfront when you're using your inquiry forms. But having a little bit of context, the point of the of the inquiry form is to help you get a little bit of information. So you can say, oh, okay, Jess reached out. She's diabetic. She's dealing with X, Y, and Z. Okay, I can probably help her. Versus sometimes people fill out a how can I help you? And they're like, I'm looking for a dietitian. Okay, what I need some more context. What are you, and then you have to go back and forth about what do you need help with? What are you looking for? So we want to, help them get give us a little bit more information. And then lastly, your website is a great place to communicate what clients can expect when working with you. So sharing details like even little details like you can expect automated appointment reminders and a private client portal. Now, this doesn't need to be maybe like the front and center. Like we really want to talk more about the results that you're getting them or how you're helping them. But they do also wanna know, like, are these phone calls, Zoom calls? Am I coming to you in person? Like, am I responsible for booking the calls? Like, is it every Monday at 2? They want to have that little bit of information about, like, how flexible are you? How does this work? What's the process? Like, do I absolutely have to book 10 calls? Do I get to choose? Like they want some of that information. And this really shows one that you're organized when you can really answer a lot of those questions about the process. It also shows that you value their time and can really, if you're super flexible, if you have all these like we can do this, we can do that, showing that you're willing to work with them. I really love this is another client of mine, Lance. He has a patient info page. So he has his sales pages where he talks about like, here's the different things I can do. Then the patient info. He does have an in-person office. So he has location, he has parking information. If you're someone that has an office in a city, this can be really, really helpful if the parking situation may be confusing to some. Then pricing, even though pricing is listed on the sales pages with the services and the packages, having this here again is really, really helpful. And he's someone who doesn't take insurance. So having this information up front, again, builds trust because he's being transparent. He's not trying to switch, switch it up on you and confuse you or like, oh, sorry, like you have to call and have a 30-minute call with me. And then I'm going to like force you to give me your credit card. Like he's being transparent up front. And I really want you to remember that automation in systems like this, it's not just about efficiency. I know some are like, oh, but like I want people to feel like a personal touch, like a connection, and there's a human that they're working with. They will get that. But some of this automation, these workflows, that is a form of self-care for you and your team. Because by automating these repetitive tasks, like appointment reminders and follow-up emails that Practice Better does for you, and doing these other things on your website that's going to answer a lot of questions, you're freeing up mental energy to focus on what matters most, which is serving your clients. Because we didn't, necessarily sign up to do all this just to answer a bunch of emails back and forth. Obviously, that is part of the client experience, but anything we can do to spend more of that time answering the deeper questions and really digging into your client's problems, that's going to bring you more fulfillment and joy rather than all the tech and stuff that could be automated. So really think about it through that lens. Now, I want to shift gears just a little bit and also talk about another way that your website can work for you, SEO. Now, I am a huge fan of SEO. If you've heard of it, you might be like, oh my gosh, this is SEO is confusing and overwhelming. We're not going to dig like super deep into this today. I have lots of SEO resources. You can DM me if you want to learn more. But if you're not familiar, SEO is search engine optimization. We are optimizing the content on your website so that if someone is Googling Chicago dietitian or nutrition coach, in Boston, that your website hopefully shows up. Because a lot of people don't realize just because you set up a website, whether you do it yourself or you pay somebody, doesn't mean that Google's like, oh, look, Chelsea has a website that she just published. Let's just show that in search results. It's going to take some time. Google has to learn who you are, learn whether you are a good resource for people, learn what you're about, whether that means, oh, when people search for meal plans, we should show her, or thyroid, or kids nutrition, or diabetes, like whatever that is, they want to make sure like they're showing you for the correct thing. But all of that takes time and you have to be intentional to make sure that happens because there's millions of websites. So just because you publish one doesn't mean that they're automatically just going to be like, ta-da, here you go. So when you are optimizing for search engines, you're creating a system that brings in traffic and potential clients all the time without ads. Like this is organic. And what people don't realize is that people who are searching on Google for help are warmer leads because that person is not just like, I really want to just Google, I just want to spend a little bit of my free time Googling things about hormones. That might be something that dietitians and health practitioners enjoy, but a 30-year-old mom that's, dealing with a lot of symptoms isn't like, what sounds fun? Just Googling my health problems. They are intentional. They are looking for help. Whereas on social media, I mean, yes, they might follow you because they have PCOS and they want to follow you for more information, but they may not be ready to buy. Whereas the person Googling is like, please help. Like, I'm so tired of this. I need to do some research. So think about the people who are Googling and they are ready to buy. They want help. And unlike social media posts that lose visibility within, I used to say days, but now it seems like hours, SEO has a much, much longer shelf life. A well-written blog post can drive traffic to your website for months, and I'm not exaggerating when I say years. I have blog posts from 5+ years ago that still drive lots of traffic to my website. And that's a lot of potential clients coming to me, learning about my brand, learning about my services, and my products and all of that. So it has a much longer shelf life. So yes, it might take longer to write a blog post, but think about how much longer it's going to help your business also. So I always try to advocate that people really think about like how much is social media driving clients? Can you cut back a few hours, do one less reel a week, and reallocate some of that time to start blogging so you can build your platform and not have to be on the social media hamster wheel? And so creating educational blog content is really, really key to a successful SEO strategy. Google is prioritizing high quality content. They have done the last few updates they've done to the search engines and the algorithms have literally been called the helpful content update. And it's just what it sounds like. They are prioritizing helpful content. So a 300-word blog post is not going to cut it. You really want to go deep into topics and really answer those questions and give people that information. Now, it doesn't have to be all about whatever it is that you are teaching in your programs or one-on-one. Obviously, there's a lot of, well, it depends on your situation, it depends on your root cause, but we can still answer some questions and give people maybe a few quick wins or things to think about. Oh, this is why this is happening. You can pay me to figure out how to solve it. So we want to address specific pain points, focus on topics that obviously are in your niche or that your clients are frequently asking about. So anything from what to eat before a strength workout or how to recover from burnout as a mom. You want to be really, really specific. That's going to help your SEO. So rather than just nutrition tips for women, you want to get really, really niche, whether it's like a breakfast post, a workout, like how to fuel for early morning workout, or how to travel on a plane and stay healthy, whatever that is. Obviously those are some really broad, general, random ideas, but the more specific you can be, the better. We always also want to really try to provide, obviously, reliable and research-backed information, and if you can, link to the research. So if it's like a public PubMed article or anything like that, link to it. Just hyperlink to it somewhere in the post. Some people like to have like a references section at the bottom of the blog post. You can do that if you want, but I think sometimes it's just easier within the post. If you're like, in 2020, there was a study about protein and this, and you just link it right there. That can really help, one, just with building trust with the audience, but Google likes this as well because you're linking to research, so they know that there's research to back this up. Because since the pandemic, Google really has cracked down on like, who's a reliable resource? Should we rank them in Google or not? Incorporating keywords naturally. So again, we're not doing a deep dive into like keyword research. That could be a whole other topic. But if you're trying to attract people with PCOS or diabetes, using those search terms in the content, in the blog title, within the subheadings, within the post is going to help. You'd be surprised how often I have done like website audits for people and they're like, I'm not getting any search traffic. And I go look at their site and I'm like, well, I mean, yes, your homepage is talking about like getting healthy and nutrition, feeling better, whatever, but you're not mentioning anywhere that you're a dietitian. You said your niche to me, you said your niche is PCOS or, whatever, but you don't even mention it on the page or in the post. Like, we have to be specific. So without even knowing like, oh, is this the search term or is that the search term or what's better, just be specific and like really make sure that you're incorporating any of those keywords. And then obviously like make the post engaging, write in a conversational tone. Make sure you use like short paragraphs. We don't want this to read like a textbook. So be conversational, break it up so it's easy to read and digest. That's going to help people stay engaged and not be like, oh my gosh, this is just a wall of text. I don't think I can read this. Make it easy. Use those subheadings when you kind of are switching to a new topic. Almost think about it like a presentation. Like when you are switching to a new slide, typically there's like a new heading. So if you were doing that blog post as a presentation, where would you break it up and then add a subheading there? That can sometimes help people with like knowing where to add in breaks or subheadings. Another example here, one of my clients, Melissa of the Hormone Dietitian, does a great job with her content. She blogs and has had a podcast, and it's all very, very focused on her niche, which is PCOS and hormones. It's all search friendly. You can see there's graphics. You can see the titles for all of them. So really stay within your niche. That's going to help with the SEO as well. Another thing you can do, this is definitely not required, but you can even like on your main blog page, like the landing page of your blog, where everyone sees the different posts, like Melissa's screenshot, you could even, instead of just like blog at the top, you could say like your trusted wellness guide or your trusted PCOS guide or something like that, just to reinforce the expertise and the authority that you're creating this content from. So when people see that, they're like, oh yeah, like this practice has expertise, like I should really trust them. So that's something, if that feels in alignment with your brand voice, that's something you could add to the blog page. Um, Also, with blogging, I really would recommend organizing your blog into categories or like a silo. So, for instance, just like grouping topics like stress management, weight loss, meal planning. This helps search engines understand the depth of your expertise and the different categories that you can talk about. So obviously stay within your niche. Don't try to cast too wide of a net. They really want you to go deep rather than wide. So don't feel like you need to write about all these different niches or nutrition topics. It can really be going deep into your niche. Like figure out how like 15 different ways you can talk about a niche. So to keep with this like PCOS example, PCOS and cardio, PCOS and supplements, PCOS and strength training, PCOS and protein, like keep going down that rabbit hole and talk about every correlation that you can as it relates to your niche and what you help clients with. I do also want to touch just real quick on local SEO because I know some practices do serve locally, some are just like nationwide. So it really obviously kind of depends. And I know some people, even if they work nationwide, they still do a little bit of local SEO just so they can get some local traffic as well. So even if you don't have an in-person office, you can use local SEO to drive traffic to your site. So you just want to optimize your content for local search by including like location keywords, adding your practice to Google My Business, and then if you can, encourage clients to leave reviews on your Google My Business profile, which is what shows up basically on like Google Maps. So for example, like including your city and service keywords like dietitian in Austin, nutritionist in Chicago, um, or like PCOS dietitian in Chicago, anything like that can be really beneficial. And depending on how much you want to work with local people, obviously, if you are local only, this should be on every single page. If you are, oh, I like maybe would be interested in some local clients, this may be just something you kind of mention on your about page. If you're local and nationwide, I would probably recommend on your sales pages that you have like at the bottom some information about like you can work with us virtually, or we serve clients in all of Georgia. This is whatever. It again it depends on your practice and who you serve, but you can do a little bit of local SEO or a lot. It's really up to you. And now we've been talking a lot about like attracting clients. Obviously, that's important. Keeping them engaged, earning their trust. But I do now want to move on and talk about some more transparency and really like being clear on your website and things that you really need to include on your website specifically. So the first one is privacy policies. This is actually legally required in a lot of states. And I do want to like really clarify, this is separate from your like client contracts. This is website specific because I've worked with a lot of dietitians. They're like, oh yeah, like I have a privacy policy that my clients sign. That's the privacy policy that your clients sign as it relates to your work. not anybody on your website, because you are taking client information, you have a contact form. If you're using analytics, you're collecting like the hidden data, the cookies. So you want to make sure that you, in your footer, have privacy policy, terms, and disclaimer. This protects you and your content. Um, the other thing is making sure that you have cancellation policies and fees, like all of that information outlined upfront. Um, Even though they may not sign the form or anything yet, and you can reiterate that information once they are working with you and they're a client, you want to have that information available on the website so that people know it before they even sign up. Um, so that's something to keep in mind. Um, oops. Then lastly, also, I mentioned this earlier, but having information specifically about insurance, whether or not you accept it. This is really, really important because we want to make sure that people know this up front. Are you submitting it? Can they submit it? Do you not do it at all? Like, really making that information clear. And then even just having like a care philosophy on your website so that people know how they're going to be taken care of. What about follow-ups and check-ins? Like, what's the support look like between sessions? Is that available? All information that needs to be on the website. The next thing is also FAQs. Blog posts can answer a lot of FAQs, and that's fine, but we want to include the FAQs about scheduling, what happens during the first session, how do I use Practice Better? What is Practice Better? How is my data safe in Practice Better? All that kind of information. And then the last thing that I really, really want to make sure that you include is client testimonials. So on your website, having quotes, if anybody's willing, you can even do videos, um, really highlighting your approach, the results you've gotten people. And I know that we have to be safe when it comes to HIPAA. So when you send a testimonial form to clients, let them know that they don't have to submit a photo. It doesn't have to have their first and last name. Like, I have clients who put just Ashley M, or even just client A. Like, it doesn't matter. And if you do go with a full testimonials page, like, I do recommend putting it on testimonials in your sales pages, like one or two. But if you have a full testimonials page, you can even put a disclaimer like client names are private, or like these are private names, they're concealed for privacy. Any language like that is definitely fine, because obviously as a potential client, they should understand that their information, their name won't be shared either. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, shifting gears again, I know that scaling your practice usually means bringing on a team, whether that's admin support or other dietitians, other practitioners, and your website should help support this growth. So, a few little things to keep in mind. This is really simple. This is like a really tiny detail, but something you can implement. If there's like a blog post that you often send to clients, make it easy to remember. Like, you can use a redirect, either within the website, you can do a plugin, like there's different ways to set it up depending on the platform. But instead of like yourdomain.com slash 15 dash smoothies dash, like whatever, it's a super long URL, you can just do a redirect to yourdomain.com slash checklist smoothies, like whatever one word you want. And then it's easy for your team to remember. And in a client session, they can like, oh, after this, you mentioned you wanted some more meal plan ideas. If you just go to .com slash smoothies, meals, whatever, that will pull up that information. Or it's just easier for your team to remember if they're putting it in like the call notes, the summary of the visit. They can put that there for easy access for your clients. The other thing is team member pages. So having an about page and then highlighting your team, bios, photos, specialties. If the team members themselves have any specific resources that they're like, I'm constantly recommending this book or this podcast to friends and clients. You could even link some of their favorite resources on their individual page. That could be a fun way to call out some of their resources. Um, you can also include a Practice Better link on each team member's page so that if they're sending that out or if someone comes across them, very easy to just click that Practice Better link. It opens up, they can schedule a call or fill out a form or whatever to talk to that person. So that's something else to consider. The other thing I would recommend is adding a resource library to your website. So this can be links, it can be downloads, it can be videos, like it really can be whatever you want it to be. It can be as simple or as complex and comprehensive as you want. Um, I usually recommend sorting it by either like topic or type of resource. So what you see here is my client Chelsea. Hers is mostly just links to like other websites or podcasts or books, but it's sorted by topic. But I have had plenty of clients who do it by like, here's all the books I recommend, here's all the podcasts I recommend, anything like that. So you have options, you have different ways you can sort it depending on really how many items you're listing on the page. But this is helpful because, again, you can point clients to it, but then anybody who lands on your website can go to this resource library and be like, wow, like this practice is really helpful. I love all these books they've recommended. I'll have to check them out. Like that builds more trust and relationship with these potential clients even before they're reaching out to work with you. So this is just a really good idea, a good way to build that. Um, and then I really also want to make sure that you are listing your values and your beliefs on your website. Because this is specifically, yes, for clients, but also for team members and making sure that you are attracting the right fit for your team. So knowing your values, your work culture, as a business is going to be really important because more and more people want to know where a company stands on certain issues, how they address certain topics or situations in business. So, on your About page or on your careers page, really outline like the information that's going to help you attract the right people and tell people this is where we stand on certain issues. This is how we operate. This is just a quick screenshot from one of my clients that on her, and this isn't even all of it. I couldn't fit it all on one slide, but she talks about like, this is what we're committed to. This is what we believe in. This is who is welcome in our practice. So this kind of information can be really beneficial to include on your website. Now, we're wrapping up. I want to help you put this into action. So taking a minute to just kind of evaluate your website. Are you specific about client privacy and how this is handled? Are you mentioning like, hey, there's appointment reminders and follow-ups and an app, and that's how we communicate? Is the website showcasing your expertise? Do you have FAQs that are addressing client concerns and common questions? Is there clear information about the process, the scheduling, the policies, payments, insurance? Like, if I come to your website, is it clear how the practice works? Once you've identified maybe some things you need to work on, I would recommend a few next steps. One, implement one automation this week, whether it's adding something to the website or doing an automation inside Practice Better itself. And remember that that is self-care for you and your team. I would encourage you to create one evergreen content piece, meaning like a blog post that can go on the website. and then update just one section on the website to help clarify one part of your process. Don't feel like you have to fix everything this week. Figure out like what's one thing that I really should update like this week. Now, we've covered a lot. If you have questions, let me know. You can connect with me on Instagram or my website. I'm really easy to find pretty much anywhere online. I'm on YouTube and lots of other social media at Just Creatives or justcreatives.com. But I hope this was helpful. I'm so excited to hopefully connect with some of you and hear how you are growing your business and scaling and growing that team.